Please, madam, I have not eaten. I am very hungry. How dare you tell me that I put too much pepper in the food? If you can't eat peppy, why did you marry my son? Amelia rushed out in anger and said, Evans is my first love, and I am here to take what belongs to me. If you know what's good for you, better go back to where you came from. Jessica sneered at Durana and said, Carry this bundle of firewood to the next street to sell. If not sold, don't come back here.
The full story.
Jessica and JJ sat in their small living room, deep in conversation about their only son, Evans, and how to secure a brighter future for him. Jessica let out a heavy sigh and said, They say education is the key to a prosperous life, but it's been 3 years since Evans graduated from university, and he still hasn't found a job. Is this how things will continue for us? JJ leaned back in his chair, his face filled with concern as he slowly shook his head. I've been thinking, Jessica, maybe the only way out is to send him abroad. These days, people call it job pa, seeking greener pastures in another country. Jessica's expression darkened as she cut in, but where on earth can we raise such a huge amount of money? We've already sold nearly everything we had just to sponsor his university education. Sending him abroad will cost even more. I don't think we can afford it, even if it means selling everything, including ourselves. JJ managed a small, hopeful smile. If that's the only option we have to give him a better life, then I believe it's worth it. We'll find a way, Jessica. Somehow, we'll make it happen. The couple embraced tightly, drawing strength from each other. Jessica rested her head on JJ's shoulder and murmured, I believe in Evans. One day, he'll make us proud. 6 months later, the dream they had fought so hard for finally came true. Evans ready to embark on a journey that promised a brighter future. With a mix of excitement and emotion, he turned to his parents and pulled them into a heartfelt hug. Thank you for everything, Evans said, his voice thick with gratitude. For all the sacrifices you've made, I promise to make you proud. Jessica held on to her only son tightly, tears streaming down her face. My boy, she whispered, her voice breaking, we love you so much. Always remember why we did this. No matter where you are, we'll always be with you in spirit. Her arms refused to let go, as though she could freeze this moment forever. JJ, standing beside them, tried to maintain his composure, but tears welled up in his eyes and spilled over as he placed a firm hand on Evan's shoulder. Son, he said, his voice steady yet filled with emotion, give life everything you've got. Just as we gave all we had to secure this chance for you, you must do the same to succeed. Never forget where you come from and the dreams we've built together. The family shared one final embrace, their hearts heavy with the pain of separation but firm in their resolve. As Evans turned to go, Jessica clutched JJ's arm, her tears flowing freely, and JJ pulled her close. It's hard now, JJ murmured, his voice trembling, but this is the price we must pay for a better future. He'll make us proud. Evans arrived in Canada brimming with excitement, convinced that stepping onto foreign soil would instantly transform him into the big boy he had always dreamed of becoming. However, reality set in quickly. A few weeks after his arrival, he found himself working in a local restaurant, mopping the floor for long hours. Though the work was exhausting, he remained optimistic, diligently saving every dollar he could to afford proper accommodation. One afternoon, while taking a break, Evans noticed another young man, a fellow worker, and decided to strike up a conversation. "Oh hey, do you also work here?" Evans asked, his tone curious. The man, who introduced himself as Davis, nodded with a smile. "Yeah, man. I just quit a job as an office cleaner when I got a better offer here. Life here isn't easy, you know. You've got to work hard if you want to make decent money in this country." Evans felt a sense of camaraderie with Davis and appreciated his honesty. Over the next couple of days, they became friends, chatting during breaks and sharing stories about their struggles. A few days later, Davis, who had a reputation for being a heavy drinker, invited Evans to a nightclub. "Come on, man," he urged. "You've been working so hard. You deserve to have some fun." Reluctantly, Evans agreed, eager to make friends and experience life in his new country. But what started as a harmless night out quickly spiraled out of control. Determined to impress Davis and his group of friends, Evans spent recklessly, buying rounds of drinks and covering expenses he couldn't afford. Before he realized it, his hard-earned savings were gone. The harsh reality hit Evans like a ton of bricks. His newfound friendships offered little solace as he found himself back to square one, struggling to make ends meet. One crisp Saturday morning, Evans decided to go jogging, hoping to clear his mind and reflect on his struggles and plans for the future. As he ran along a quiet trail, he noticed a young beautiful white woman jogging ahead of him. Suddenly, she tripped over a loose stone and stumbled forward. Before she could fall, Evans sprinted to her side and caught her just in time. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern evident in his voice as he steadied her. The woman looked up at him, slightly breathless but smiling. "Thank you so much. That could have been a nasty fall. You're a lifesaver." "It's no problem," Evans replied modestly. As she adjusted her footing, she turned to him and said, "I'm Dorana, by the way. What's your name?" "My name is Evans," he said, extending a hand. "I'm Nigerian." Dorana's face lit up. "Oh, welcome to Canada, Evans. It's always nice to meet someone from another part of the world." Grateful for the warm reception, Evans smiled. They began jogging together, and as they chatted, Evans opened up about his struggles since arriving in Canada. He shared how difficult it had been to find steady work and make ends meet. Dorana listened attentively, and then told him how she had always dreamed of visiting Nigeria one day, fascinated by its culture and history. That chance encounter marked the beginning of a blossoming friendship. Over the next few weeks, they met regularly, bonding over conversations about their different backgrounds and shared interests. Dorana, who had connections in the corporate world, decided to help Evans turn his fortunes around. She introduced him to a manager at a reputable company, and with her recommendation, Evans landed a well-paying job. The new job was a turning point for Evans. With steady income, he could finally cover his bills and even send money home to his parents in Nigeria. He often thought about how that fateful Saturday morning had changed his life. As he thrived in his new role, Evans remained deeply grateful to Dorana. Not only had she been a friend when he needed one most, but she had also been the bridge to his newfound stability. For the first time since arriving in Canada, Evans felt hopeful about the future and confident that he could fulfill the promises he had made to his parents back home. Back at home in Nigeria, Jessica's phone buzzed, and she answered eagerly. "Hello, my son, I haven't stopped praying for you. But please, remember to work hard and don't put us to shame, make us proud." Evans chuckled on the other end of the line, his laughter warm and reassuring. "Don't worry, Mom, I've got good news for you," he said cheerfully. "I've sent you some dollars. I tried calling Dad, but his line wasn't connecting. He can collect the money on his way back from work today or tomorrow." Jessica froze for a moment, the words "sent you some dollars" ringing in her ears. "Evans, you said you sent us dollars," she shouted in disbelief, then erupted into excited laughter. "Oh, dollars, oh my son, you've made my day." She began dancing around the room in pure joy, clapping her hands and calling out, "JJ, JJ. Get ready, we're going to the bank now." JJ, bemused but equally excited, quickly got ready, and the couple headed straight to the bank. As they entered, they ignored the queue and marched directly to the cashier. JJ, with a proud smile, declared, "We're here to receive the dollars our son sent us." The cashier, maintaining her professional demeanor, politely replied, "Sir, you'll need to join the line." Jessica, not one to be deterred, raised her voice, exclaiming, "No, no, no, we're not here for Naira. The queue is for those collecting Naira. We're dollionaires now." The entire bank erupted in laughter. Customers, cashiers, and even the security guards couldn't hold back their amusement. Jessica, unbothered by the attention, continued, "Please, just give us the dollars. We can't wait." Eventually, Jessica and JJ received the money, their excitement as vibrant as ever. They left the bank beaming with pride, their hearts swelling with gratitude for Evans. That day, they not only became dollionaires in their words but also celebrated the beginning of the fruits of their sacrifices. It was a day filled with joy, laughter, and the reassurance that their son was making them proud. Back in Canada, Dorana decided it was time to have a heartfelt conversation with her parents about the man who had captured her heart. One evening, as they sat in the cozy family living room, she mustered the courage to speak. "Mom," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion, "there's something I need to tell you. I'm in love with someone. His name is Evans, the Nigerian man who works at my company, and also attended my last birthday party. He's the same Evans, you know. He's so special to me, and I want to spend the rest of my life with him." Her mother, Clara, looked at her intently, her expression a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Dorana, are you sure about this?" she asked gently. "Do you think Evans feels the same way about you?" Dorana nodded earnestly. "Mom, I know he does. We've spent so much time together, and he treats me with such kindness and respect. I've never felt this way about anyone before. Evans is hardworking, honest, and has such a good heart. I truly believe we're meant to be." Clara's eyes softened as she listened to her daughter's heartfelt words. "Well," she said after a moment of thought, "Evans is a good man. I've seen how dedicated he is, not just to his work, but to everything he sets his mind to. If you're certain that you both love each other and are ready for this commitment, then you have my approval." Overwhelmed with emotion, Dorana threw her arms around her mother, tears of joy welling up in her eyes. "Thank you, Mom, thank you for always being so understanding and supportive." Clara smiled warmly, holding her daughter close. "You deserve to be happy, Dorana. Love is a beautiful thing, and if Evans makes you happy, then I'm happy for you." That night, Dorana felt a weight lift off her shoulders. With her mother's blessing, she was more confident than ever that she and Evans could build a beautiful life together. 1 year later, Evans woke up with a deep longing in his heart, a yearning to reconnect with home. As he sat on the edge of the bed, staring out of the window, he turned to Dorana, who was still wrapped in the morning glow. "Dorana," he began, his voice heavy with emotion, "I've been thinking. I'm homesick. I really want to go back to Nigeria for a vacation. It's been so long, and I know my parents must have missed me terribly. I miss them too." Dorana smiled warmly and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Evans, I've been waiting for this conversation for a long time," she said. "I'd love to go with you. I want to meet your parents and experience your country firsthand. It's something I've dreamed of ever since we became close." Evans was taken aback by her enthusiasm. He hesitated before replying. "Oh, Dorana, you don't understand. My home is so different from what you're used to here in Canada. I come from a struggling family. Life there isn't as comfortable or glamorous as what you've known. I don't think you'd be able to cope with it. Dorana reached for his hand and held it firmly. Evans, she said gently, I love you for who you are, not for where you come from. Your family raised the man I fell in love with, and I want to meet them. I want to see the place that shaped you and understand your roots. Besides, I'm not afraid of stepping out of my comfort zone. They sat together for a while, engaged in a heartfelt conversation about their different worlds and the challenges they might face during the trip. Dorana assured Evans that she was ready to embrace everything, his culture, his family, and the life he left behind. By the end of their talk, Evans smiled, feeling both relieved and grateful. All right, he said finally, we'll go together. It's time for you to meet my parents and see my world. Dorana's first week with her in-laws in Nigeria was a whirlwind of excitement and unforgettable moments. From the moment she stepped off the plane, she was embraced with warmth and hospitality that left her in awe. She quickly grew to enjoy the lively attention she received whenever she walked hand in hand with Evans through the bustling streets of his hometown. People were eager to greet her, exchange smiles, and even gently touch her hand as a sign of admiration. Children followed them with wide eyes, fascinated by her presence, while adults approached to engage her in friendly conversations. Evan's parents made her feel like part of the family from day one. They praised her endlessly for her love and support for their son, expressing gratitude for the sacrifices she had made to help Evans thrive abroad. You're a blessing to this family, his mother said warmly, holding Dorana's hands. Thank you for taking care of Evans. You've brought joy to our lives. Dorana was equally eager to embrace their culture. She bravely tried local dishes, from spicy jollof rice to steaming bowls of egusi soup and pounded yam. Though the flavors were intense and unfamiliar at first, she found herself enjoying the meals more with each passing day. Evan's mother was delighted and took pride in teaching her how to prepare some of the traditional recipes. Despite being thousands of miles from home, Dorana stayed connected with her mother, calling her frequently to share updates about her experiences. Mom, it's incredible here, she said during one of their chats. The people are so warm, and Evan's family treats me like royalty. I'm so glad I came. As the first week came to an end, Dorana sat with Evans by her side. This has been amazing, she said, leaning against him. I see now why you love your home so much. I'm so glad we made this trip. Evans smiled and kissed her forehead. And I'm glad you're here. You've made this even more special for me and my family. One morning, Evans rushed out early to run an errand for his father, who had also left for his carpentry workshop. Meanwhile, Jessica had prepared her breakfast of pap and bean cakes and invited Dorana to join her at the dining table. Thank you so much for your hospitality, Mother, Dorana said sincerely as she took her seat. Jessica nodded, motioning for her to begin eating. Dorana started with the pap, which was served with milk and sugar, savoring its sweet and creamy taste. Feeling adventurous, she then picked up one of the bean cakes and took a bite. The fiery heat of the pepper hit her instantly. Her throat burned, and her eyes watered as she struggled to swallow, unable to handle it. She excused herself and rushed to the restroom to wash her mouth. Jessica remained unbothered, calmly continuing her meal as though nothing had happened. When Dorana returned to the table, still trying to cool her burning tongue, she said, Mother, the pepper in this meal is too much. I couldn't swallow it, it's just too spicy. Jessica hissed dismissively and glanced at her. Ah, so you mean you can't eat pepper? She said sharply, then you can't be my son's wife. In this family, eating spicy food is a must. If you can't handle it, what else can you handle? Dorana was stunned by the harsh response but decided to keep her composure. She quietly finished her pap and left the table, making a mental note to share the incident with Evans when he returned. Later that day, Evans came home, just as lunch was being served. As soon as he entered, Jessica called out, "Evans, I wanted to leave some of the bean cakes from breakfast for you, but your wife finished every single one. She said it's her favorite." Evans chuckled, turning to Dorana with a warm smile. "Really, that's great to hear. Thanks, Mom, for always making sure Dorana is comfortable. It means so much to me." Then, addressing Dorana, he added, "I'm glad you're enjoying your stay, my love. Thank you for everything." Dorana was speechless. She stared at Jessica, who looked calm and composed as though she had done nothing wrong. The lie, the manipulation, it was all so deliberate. In that moment, Dorana realized that her mother-in-law was testing her, perhaps even trying to stir trouble. Though tempted to defend herself right there and then, Dorana decided against it. But one thing was clear: Jessica had her own games to play, and Dorana decided to tread carefully. After that incident, Jessica seemed to change her demeanor whenever JJ and Evans were at home. She would prepare delicious meals for everyone, smile warmly, and act friendly toward Dorana. It was almost as though the earlier tension had never existed. Dorana, choosing to maintain the peace, decided to play along, meeting Jessica's kindness with her own polite gestures. One evening, while the family gathered in the living room after dinner, JJ and Evans were deep in conversation about the harvest on the farm. "We need to head to the farm tomorrow," JJ said, his tone serious. "If we don't, we might lose some of the crops. I've spoken with the laborers, and they've promised to be there, but we need to supervise them. That means we'll likely spend 3 to 5 days there." Evans nodded in agreement. "You're right, Dad. We can't take any chances with the harvest." Later that night, Evans discussed the plan with Dorana. "We'll be heading to the farm early tomorrow," he said. "It's important to my father, and I promise to help." Dorana's expression changed, and she hesitated for a moment as thoughts raced through her mind. Evans noticed her reaction and gently asked, "Is there a problem? I can stay back if you don't want me to go, but I know my mom will take good care of you while I'm away." Dorana forced a smile and shook her head. "No, it's fine. Go ahead. I'll be okay." Evans kissed her forehead. "Thank you for understanding, my love. I'll call you often while I'm away." The next morning, Evans and JJ left home early for the farm, loaded with supplies and ready for days of hard work. As Dorana waved them goodbye, her heart sank slightly. She couldn't shake the unease she felt about being left alone with Jessica for an extended period. True to her fears, as soon as the car disappeared down the road, Jessica's warm smile faded, replaced by a cold and calculating expression. It was as though a switch had flipped. "Now that the men are gone," Jessica said, her voice dripping with authority, "things will be done my way. Welcome to my government." Dorana realized then that the next few days would test her patience and resolve. She determined to win her mother-in-law's love by all means. A few minutes later, "Dorana, Dorana." Jessica's sharp voice echoed through the house, summoning her daughter-in-law. Dorana hurried over, her heart sinking slightly as she anticipated another one of her mother-in-law's troubles. "Yes, mother," she said politely. Jessica sat regally in her chair, her expression stern. "It's time for you to learn one of our prominent cultural practices," she announced. "From now on, you will kneel down on both knees to greet me. No more hugging or casual greetings. Do you understand?" Dorana hesitated for a moment but quickly nodded. "Yes, mother. I will do that every morning." Jessica's eyes narrowed. "Not just in the morning. You will kneel down every single time you greet me. Whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, is that clear? Dorana nodded again, her tone respectful. Yes, madam, I understand. Jessica smirked and leaned back in her chair. Good. Now, re-greet me as if you've just seen me for the first time today. Go on, say good morning properly. Swallowing her pride, Dorana knelt down, folding her knees gracefully, and said, Good morning, mother. Jessica threw her head back and laughed loudly, clearly enjoying her newfound power. Yes, that's how a proper wife to my son should behave. You're finally learning. After a moment of silence, Jessica glanced at the table and added, Oh, by the way, since you don't seem to enjoy my peppered meals, you'll be drinking gurry this morning. Dorana smiled faintly and nodded. Okay, maiden. I'll drink the gurry when I get hungry. Thank you so much, mother. Jessica raised her eyebrows, as though surprised by the calmness in Dorana's response. She had expected resistance or at least discomfort, but Dorana had given her none. Jessica waved her off dismissively, but Dorana walked away with her head held high. At the crack of dawn, the next day, Jessica stormed into Dorana's room, her voice sharp and angry. It's only a lazy wife who wakes up after 5 a.m. She barked, her tone echoing through the stillness of the early morning. Dorana sat up abruptly, startled and confused. Jessica continued without pause. I've told the cleaners your husband hired not to come any more. As my son's wife, it's your responsibility to sweep, mop, wash, and arrange everything in this house. So get up and start working. We have somewhere to be this morning, and this place needs to be spotless. Dorana froze for a moment, struggling to process the sudden outburst. She searched her mind, trying to figure out what she might have done to offend her mother-in-law, but nothing came to her. With a heavy heart, she picked up the local broom and began sweeping the rooms. Jessica stood nearby, arms crossed, watching her every move with a look of disdain. She chuckled mockingly and scolded, You can't even hold a broom properly. Look at you, how can someone like you be my son's wife? You're too lazy for this family. Dorana's hands trembled as she swept, tears welling up in her eyes. She thought of Evans and how much she loved him, which gave her the strength to endure Jessica's harsh words. When she finally finished the chores, Dorana knelt beside her mother-in-law, her voice soft and pleading. Mother, she began, her tears now streaming freely, if I've done anything to upset you, please forgive me. I love and cherish the bond we used to share. I truly didn't mean to hurt you in any way. Instead of softening, Jessica's anger intensified. She snapped, Keep quiet, you lazy woman. I won't allow you to take my son away from me. I know your type. You're only here because of my son's money. Let me tell you something. I made Evans the man he is today through my sweat and struggle. I already have someone else in mind for him to marry, someone who truly deserves to be his wife. You will never be accepted. Dorana's heart shattered at Jessica's cruel words. Tears streamed down her face as she cried silently, her body shaking with the weight of her emotions. Jessica let out a scornful laugh, satisfied with the pain she had inflicted. Despite the hurt, Dorana resolved in her heart to endure. She had married Evans out of love, and she wouldn't let Jessica's hostility ruin her marriage.
I will fight for us, she thought, clutching onto hope, as her tears dried on her cheeks. One afternoon, Jessica approached Dorana with a stern expression and commanded, Go and get a basin. We're going to the stream. Dorana's face lit up, jumping on her feet. Oh, thank you, Mother. I'd love to go to the stream with you. It sounds like a nice walk, she said eagerly, hoping this might be a bonding moment. As both walked down the street to the stream, there was some quietness. When they arrived at the stream, Jessica abruptly stopped and turned to Dorana, her voice sharp. From now on, You will fetch 2 basins of water for me every day. I love using stream water to wash my clothes. It's better than any other water. Durana froze in shock, her eyes widening. But Mama, she protested gently, Evans dug a borehole before we arrived to make things easier for everyone. We've been using that water without any problems. Why not continue with it? It's more convenient. Jessica's face hardened, and she crossed her arms defiantly. A good wife helps her husband cut down on expenses, she retorted. Do you even know how much it costs my son to fuel the generator to pump water? You're so wasteful. If you want to stay married to Evans, you must do as I say. Fetching water from the stream is not too much to ask. Durana felt her heart sink. The idea of hauling heavy basins of water from the stream each day was daunting, and it seemed like an unnecessary burden. But the weight of Jessica's words and her fear of upsetting her mother-in-law left her no choice. After a long pause, she nodded quietly. Okay, Mama, if that's what I need to do to make you happy, I'll do it. Jessica smirked triumphantly and let out her usual mocking laugh. That's more like it. Now you're learning how to be a proper wife. As Jessica continued chuckling, Durana stood by the stream, gripping the basin tightly. Tears welled up in her eyes and trickled silently down her cheeks. She felt trapped, torn between pleasing her mother-in-law and holding on to her dignity. Despite the humiliation, Durana resolved to endure, clinging to the hope that Evans would one day see the truth of her struggles. The next morning, Durana woke up before dawn, determined to fulfill her chores and meet Jessica's expectations. Despite her exhaustion, she swept, cleaned, and later carried the basin to the stream to fetch water. She reminded herself that embracing the culture and traditions of her husband's country was part of her commitment to the marriage. After hauling the heavy basin back to the house for the second time, Durana approached the doorway, her arms aching from the effort. Just as she was about to step inside, she froze in her tracks, overhearing Jessica talking loudly on the phone. Jessica's voice was filled with excitement. My son will be back home in 2 days, she said. You must be here before he arrives to prepare his favorite meal. And don't worry, I'll handle everything. I'll make sure he spends the night with you. Whatever it takes, he'll impregnate you that same night. I'm desperate to be a grandmother. My regards to your parents, my beautiful daughter-in-law. Durana's heart raced as she stood rooted to the spot. The words hit her like a storm, leaving her both stunned and horrified. Who was Jessica speaking to? And what was this plot about another woman? Quickly regaining her composure, Durana turned back towards the road. She adjusted the basin on her head and began walking toward the house again, pretending to have just returned from the stream. Her mind raced with questions. What is going on? Who is this woman my mother-in-law is calling her daughter-in-law? And why would she go to such lengths to betray me and destroy my marriage? As she reached the door, Jessica glanced up and gave her a scrutinizing look. You took your time, she remarked. Durana forced a small smile, masking her distress. The basin was heavier than I expected. Mama, I'll be quicker next time. Jessica gave a curt nod before returning inside, her demeanor as sharp as ever. But Durana's mind was spinning. She knew she couldn't confront Jessica directly, at least not yet. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jessica called out to Durana. Have you ever seen people cooking with firewood before? She asked with a sly smile. Durana hesitated, knowing full well this question could only mean more challenges ahead. Slowly, she shook her head and replied, No, Mama, I haven't. Jessica's smile widened. Good, she said. There are a lot of things I need to show you before you go back home. Go and get ready. We're going for another walk. Durana quietly prepared herself, masking her apprehension with a composed demeanor. As they strolled through the village, people greeted them warmly as usual. Durana forced small smiles, trying her best to hide her unease. After walking for a while, Jessica led her into a bush a fair distance from their home. They began gathering firewood, and Durana watched in silence, unsure of what to expect next. Once they had collected enough, Jessica tied a bundle and placed it on Durana's head. As they made their way out of the bush, Durana suddenly felt a sharp, crawling sensation on her body. Alarmed, she shouted, "Mother, please take this wood off my head. There are ants crawling all over me." Jessica barely turned to look at her and snapped, "Stop complaining and move faster. We need to get home quickly." Durana's discomfort grew unbearable as the ants continued to bite her. Finally, unable to tolerate it any longer, she flung the bundle of firewood off her head and onto the ground. Jessica spun around, her face contorted in anger. She marched toward Durana, raising her hand as if to strike her, but stopped herself at the last moment. Instead, she sneered, "Tie that wood back up and bring it home yourself. I'll see you there." With that, Jessica turned and stormed off, leaving Durana all alone to herself, struggling with the scattered firewood. Glancing at her body, she noticed some ants on her body. She scratched at her skin in frustration, her heart aching with a mix of physical pain and emotional exhaustion. Tears welled up in Durana's eyes as she began tying the bundle back together. Bitter sobs escaped her lips as she muttered, "This woman is like a chameleon. What have I done to deserve this?" As she finally managed to secure the firewood and began her trek back to the house, she resolved to stay strong, no matter how challenging this visit became. 2 days later, Durana woke up early as usual, determined to keep up with her chores and maintain peace in the household. As she swept the floor, Jessica walked in and barked, "I want everywhere spotless today. Not only are my husband and son coming home, but I'm also expecting a special visitor, someone very dear to my heart." Durana nodded without a word and continued cleaning, mopping, and organizing, ensuring there would be no complaints. By midday, the house sparkled, just as Jessica had demanded. At around 2 p.m., the sound of footsteps and soft laughter echoed from the front door. A young, beautiful woman walked in, her radiant smile lighting up the room. The moment Jessica saw her, her face transformed with joy. "Amelia, welcome home, my dear," Jessica exclaimed, pulling the woman into a tight embrace. "This is your home now, so make yourself comfortable." Beaming with happiness, Amelia replied, "Thank you so much, Mama. I've missed you all so much." Jessica turned to Durana, her tone colder now. "Meet Amelia, my daughter-in-law," she said with a smug grin. Then, looking at Amelia, she continued, "And this is the white lady my son brought home. I told you about her." Durana and Amelia exchanged polite greetings, though the tension in the room was palpable. Jessica then handed Amelia's bag to Durana and ordered, "Take her luggage to my son's room." Durana hesitated for a fraction of a second before plastering on a small smile and saying, "Of course, Mama." She took the bag and made her way to the room. As soon as she stepped inside, she set the bag down and glanced around the space. A faint smirk appeared on her face as she muttered under her breath, "What is this woman up to now? If it's a game, I'll play along. Let's see where this leads." With renewed determination, Durana left the room, her mind racing. She was no stranger to Jessica's schemes, but this was a bold move, even for her. A few hours later, JJ and Evans arrived home, their voices carrying a mix of exhaustion and excitement. As they settled down in the sitting room, Amelia stepped out, her face lighting up with joy. The moment Evans set eyes on her, he exclaimed in surprise, "Amelia, when did you get here?" Amelia, equally thrilled, responded, "I came back to town a week ago. How was your trip abroad?" Evans smiled warmly. "It was great. Meet my beautiful wife, Durana. Durana, this is Amelia, my childhood friend." Both women exchanged greetings again. Before Durana could say anything more, Amelia chimed in, "I prepared your favorite dish, Evans. I'm sure you'll love it." Evans, slightly taken aback but gracious, turned to Durana, "Let's head to the table, my love." The three of them sat down to eat, and Evans complimented Amelia's cooking. After the meal, Amelia began to doze off at the table, her head nodding slightly. Concerned, Evans turned to his mother and asked, "Mom, is Amelia feeling okay? She looks exhausted." Jessica waved her hand dismissively. "She's fine. She's just tired from the journey, but make sure she sleeps in your room tonight." Evans' brows furrowed in disbelief. "What? No, Mom. Amelia can rest in the sitting room. I'm staying with my wife. I've been away from her for too long." Jessica's expression darkened, her eyes narrowing in irritation. "You know we only have 2 rooms, Evans. We can't let her sleep here in the sitting room. It's not proper. In fact, no one should sleep here." Evans shook his head firmly. "Then I'll set up something comfortable for her here. But my room is for my wife and me. That's not up for discussion." A few minutes later, Jessica walked Amelia into Evans' room. At 4 p.m., Amelia woke up and sat up on the bed, amazed to see Evans and Durana deeply engrossed in a cheerful and intimate conversation. Her face registered surprise as she asked, "Are you two not sleeping? And how did I even get here?" Durana burst into laughter, her voice light and teasing. "We noticed you were completely exhausted after the journey and thought it best to let you rest undisturbed. You seemed to need it." Amelia blinked, confused and slightly flustered. "I didn't mean to sleep like that. Evans, I thought you and I would stay up and catch up on old times." Evans chuckled, his expression warm and understanding. "Amelia, you must have been really tired. You started dozing off as soon as you finished eating. I didn't want to wake you. Rest is important." Amelia sighed. "I guess I was more tired than I realized," she admitted. Jessica and Amelia spent most of the day together, huddled in a corner of the sitting room, whispering and exchanging glances. Meanwhile, Evans and Durana enjoyed their time reconnecting, laughing, and sharing stories. 3 days later, during dinner, Amelia prepared the meal as usual and served everyone at the table. As they were about to eat, Durana suddenly coughed and pushed her plate aside. Evans was the first to react. "My love, are you okay? What's wrong?" Durana, her voice calm but firm, replied, "I won't eat this food, and I won't allow you to eat it either." Amelia's face contorted with anger. "How dare you stop Evans from eating the meal I prepared especially for him? Who do you think you are?" Durana exchanged her plate with Amelia's. "If there's nothing wrong with it, Amelia, go ahead and eat my portion," she challenged. Before anyone could react, Durana turned to Evans. "Bring the dog inside," she instructed. Evans hesitated, but eventually called the dog into the dining room. Before everyone could notice, Durana served Evans' plate of food to the dog. The room erupted in shock. JJ was the first to shout, "Durana, this is unnecessary. You're causing a scene. We all care for you. Why waste Amelia's efforts like this?" Jessica and Amelia rushed toward the dog, trying to retrieve the food. Amelia bent down to grab the plate, but the dog, playful and unbothered, jumped on her, wagging its tail. Amelia froze, her face pale. "Mom, tell me it's not true," she exclaimed, her voice trembling. Jessica turned to Durana, her face dark with anger. "You manipulative brat," she hissed, raising her hand to strike Durana. But Evans stood abruptly, his voice cold and commanding. "Mom, don't you dare lay a hand on my wife." JJ, confused and flustered. "What's this uproar?" "Amelia and Durana, just calm down, I will settle this issue." Suddenly, Amelia broke into uncontrollable sobs, her voice trembling with despair. "Mother, you've ruined my life. You've killed me." She cried louder as everyone watched in shock. Evans, deeply unsettled, moved toward her to console her, but the dog suddenly barked furiously, startling him. He stopped in his tracks and asked, "What is going on here? Can someone explain what's happening?" Durana let out a dry laugh. "Let me explain everything, Evans," she said, her voice steady and filled with resolve. She looked around the room, her gaze settling on Jessica and Amelia. "I came here with good intentions, to bond with my in-laws and make this house my home. But it didn't take me long to notice that your mother is like a chameleon, constantly changing her behavior depending on the situation. So, I had to take measures to protect myself." Jessica's eyes narrowed as Durana continued. "I installed CCTV cameras around the house because I knew something wasn't right. And what I discovered was worse than I ever imagined. Your mother has been nothing but cruel to me, Evans. I have video evidence of her true nature." Everyone gasped, and Jessica shifted uncomfortably, her face pale. Durana then turned to Amelia. "Now, about the meal tonight. If you've noticed, for the past 3 days, Amelia has been falling asleep immediately after dinner. That's because she and your mother have been drugging my drink to make me fall asleep early. Their plan was for Amelia to have you all to herself at night. But I'm no fool. I've been switching the drinks when they weren't looking, and that's why Amelia has been the one sleeping." Amelia gasped and stared at Jessica, horrified. "Mother, mother, mother," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Durana pressed on, but today they took it a step further. "They added a substance to your meal, Evans, and another to mine. I overheard them whispering about it earlier, saying that any mistake in their plan would cause trouble for everyone. I couldn't hear all the details because they kept their voices low, but I knew something wasn't right. That's why I refused to let you eat the food." Evans stared at Durana, his face a mixture of confusion and disbelief. "Are you saying my mother and Amelia drugged our food? What was their plan?" Durana nodded. "I have proof, Evans. Everything is on the CCTV footage. If you doubt me, we can watch it right now." The room fell silent as everyone processed the shocking revelations. Finally, Evans said in a firm voice, "Let's see the footage. I want to know the truth." Durana met his gaze with unwavering determination. "You'll see everything, Evans." JJ and Evans were frozen, their faces pale with shock, as the weight of the footage they have watched sank in. JJ turned to Jessica, his voice trembling with a mix of anger and disappointment. "This woman you've humiliated is the same woman who stood by your son and helped him achieve the success he enjoys today," JJ said firmly. "Evans told us everything, how she supported him, encouraged him, and made sacrifices for him. How dare you treat her like this? What kind of mother are you?" Jessica looked away, shame written across her face, but before she could respond, Amelia stepped forward. Her face was tear-streaked, her eyes hollow with despair. The dog clung tightly to her, growling protectively, as if sensing her turmoil. Through choked sobs, Amelia confessed, "Am I now married to a dog? Mother, look at what we've done." The substance I added to Evan's food wasn't poison. It was a love charm. I wanted him to fall for me, to forget about Durana and love me. But it was a powerful charm, one that has no remedy. Gasps echoed through the room, and Amelia continued, her voice trembling. and the one I added to Durana's food, it was a sickness charm. It was meant to weaken her, to turn her into a shell of herself. A vegetable. That one has no cure either. Durana's face drained of color as Evans stared at Amelia in disbelief. A love charm, a sickness charm. Do you hear yourself, Amelia? Do you know what you've done? Jessica moved closer to Amelia, reaching out to console her, but the dog barked ferociously, snapping at her and forcing her to step back. Evans, his face hard with fury, stormed into the other room and returned with a cutlass in hand. "This ends now," he shouted, his voice echoing through the house. "I will kill this dog and free you from the spell." Amelia shrieked, throwing herself to her knees, her hands clasped in desperation. "No, please, don't kill the dog. You don't understand." Jessica joined her, trembling as she pleaded, "Evans, stop. You can't harm the dog. Amelia and the dog are now bound by the charm. If the dog dies, Amelia will die too." Evans froze, his grip tightening on the cutlass. "Bound? What do you mean bound?" Jessica's voice was barely above a whisper. "The charm we used was ancient, dangerous magic. Her life and the dog's life are now intertwined. If the dog dies, she dies with it. That's the price of the charm." The room fell silent as the weight of her words settled over them. Evans looked at Durana, his eyes filled with guilt and sorrow. "I'm so sorry, Durana. I had no idea any of this was happening." Durana gave him a small, sad smile. "I know, Evans, but now you do." A week later, JJ, Evans, and Durana were packed and ready to leave for their trip abroad. Jessica, Amelia, and the dog were at the doorway, watching the trio prepare to depart. As Durana zipped up her final suitcase, Evans walked over to her and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. She nodded with a faint smile. "More than ready. It's time for a fresh start, for all of us." JJ adjusted his jacket and glanced at Jessica, who stood silently in the corner. "Jessica," he said firmly, "we're leaving you with the responsibility of this house. I hope you take this time to reflect on your actions and make amends for the pain you've caused." Jessica's eyes were downcast, her voice barely audible. "I understand, JJ. I'll take care of everything here." Amelia, still clutching the dog, looked at Evans with tear-filled eyes. "Evans," she whispered, "I'm sorry for everything. Please, don't hate me." Evans gave her a long, measured look. "Amelia, I don't hate you, but you need to take responsibility for your choices and the consequences they've brought. Please take care of yourself and the dog." The dog whimpered softly, as if sensing the gravity of the moment. Amelia held it closer, tears streaming down her face. Durana stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Amelia, mother, I will miss both of you. Please take good care of yourself." Jessica nodded slightly, but her face remained unreadable. With their luggage loaded into the car, JJ, Evans, and Durana took one last look at the house. As the car disappeared down the road, the trio in the house were left to face their new reality, each wondering what the future would hold. Hello, besties. What's your biggest takeaway from this story? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share them in the comments below, in your own language. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more inspiring lessons, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications. See you in my next video.
Thank you for watching. God bless you. I love you all. Please check the description below for more of my interesting stories.